a blackout in Lithuania, missiles over Kashmir, warships circling Taiwan. These aren't scenes from a thriller. They're tomorrow's headlines waiting to happen. As the world marks 80 years since the end of World War II, the risk of a new one has never felt closer. From South Asia's nuclear rivals to the flashpoints in Europe and East Asia, the map of the world is once again laced with tripwires. This is where the next war could ignite. A stranded train, blackout in Lithuania, armed convoys racing across borders. A nightmare scenario that could spark war in Europe. Fictional for now, but disturbingly plausible. It's one of several flashpoints that experts warn could erupt into conflict within the next 5 years, reports Politico. This year has already seen missiles exchanged between India and Pakistan and Israel going to war with Iran over its nuclear program. Both crises underscored how quickly tensions can escalate and how fragile today's security order has become. As the 80th anniversary of the end of World War II nears, analysts warn the risks of regional clashes spreading into wider war are greater than many assume. Here's a guide to the world's hottest flashpoints, the places where the illogical logic of war may take hold next. In May, nuclear neighbours India and Pakistan exchanged missile fire across the border after a terrorist attack. For 4 days, it looked like the nightmare of a nuclear confrontation was edging closer to reality. A ceasefire brokered by the US held, but the flare-up underscored just how volatile the region remains. The roots stretch back to the 1947 partition of British India, which created Hindu-majority India and Muslim-majority Pakistan. The two countries have fought several wars since then. First in 1947 over Kashmir, then in 1965, in 1971, leading to the creation of Bangladesh, and again in 1999 during the Kargil conflict. Since 2003, an uneasy calm has prevailed, though border skirmishes continue to claim dozens of lives. The stakes are enormous. Pakistan is thought to possess about 170 nuclear weapons, India around 180. A war could devastate South Asia and trigger global famines through nuclear winter effects. Christopher Clarey, a non-resident fellow with the Henry Stimson Centre, warns that escalation can happen fast.
Once you start really damaging the other side's military bases, you start degrading their command and control networks, and their ability to calibrate a response is going to decline.
Avril Haines, former US Director of National Intelligence, is equally blunt.
You can see the potential for it to go from 0 to 60 despite the fact that neither side may want to go to war, because the domestic politics on both sides push them to escalate, each playing off the other.
And yet, both nations have reasons to hold back. India is focused on rivalry with China and economic growth. Pakistan faces its own internal insurgencies. For now, deterrence holds just. If India-Pakistan is the most likely nuclear flashpoint, China-Taiwan is the most strategically consequential. Xi Jinping has openly set 2027 as a benchmark for his forces to be ready for an invasion. Taiwan has never been ruled by the Chinese Communist Party, but Xi sees reunification as unfinished business. As time passes, Taiwanese identity drifts further from Beijing. The US has no formal treaty to defend Taiwan, but has long signaled support. Still, war games suggest the US could struggle to sustain a prolonged fight with China. Casualties, analysts warn, could exceed Vietnam and Korea combined in months. If Beijing succeeded, it would reshape Asia. Allies like Japan and South Korea might even consider building nuclear weapons, doubting Washington's resolve. John Feiner, a former US Deputy National Security Advisor, notes,
"They practice Taiwan scenarios all the time because this is the most important thing their military might ever get called upon to do."
But doubts remain over China's readiness. Corruption, lack of combat experience, and the sheer difficulty of a cross-strait invasion all weigh heavily. Xi may instead pursue grey zone tactics, blockades or customs controls to pressure Taipei without outright war. Estonia, Latvia and Lithuania are NATO's most exposed members. Small in size, they border an assertive Russia that sees them as part of its historical sphere. Gabrielius Landsbergis, Lithuania's former foreign minister, cautions against assuming war would begin with tanks rolling in.
This is what the war looks like. It's not hundreds or thousands of Russian troops pouring in, but something much more mundane.
For Moscow, the stakes are both territorial and symbolic. A successful move against the Baltics could fracture NATO itself. Would Washington really risk Chicago or Seattle to defend Riga or Vilnius? Trump's wavering stance on NATO makes that question sharper. Yet Russia's own military is stretched. In Ukraine, losses have been staggering. Thousands of tanks, vehicles and air defense systems destroyed. For now, capacity limits Putin's ambitions, but the political will remains. The Himalayas are breathtaking and bitterly contested. The line of actual control, drawn after China's 1962 war with India, remains unsettled. For decades, it has served less as a border than a fragile ceasefire line, shifting with patrols, politics and power plays. Skirmishes have erupted periodically, most infamously in June 2020, when Indian and Chinese troops clashed in Galwan Valley using rocks, clubs and fists. A medieval-style confrontation that left dozens dead and shocked both nations. Since then, standoffs have persisted in Ladakh and Arunachal Pradesh, with rival soldiers often eyeball to eyeball in freezing high-altitude terrain. The greater danger lies not in patches of barren territory, but in the potential for escalation. Neither country maintains robust hotlines or binding treaties to manage a crisis. A single miscalculation, a patrol straying too far, a shot fired in anger, could rapidly spiral into a wider conflict between two nuclear-armed powers. Yet both Delhi and Beijing are constrained by circumstance. For Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, domestic priorities hinge on sustaining economic growth, attracting investment and maintaining India's global rise. For Chinese President Xi Jinping, economic headwinds, demographic decline and international pushback already weigh heavily. A costly war in the mountains would jeopardize both leaders' agendas. The Korean War has never officially ended. The armistice of 1953 halted the fighting, but no peace treaty followed. Today, the demilitarized zone is one of the most fortified borders in the world, bristling with artillery and troops. Just across that line, the South Korean capital, Seoul, lies within easy range of northern missiles, a constant reminder of the peninsula's fragility. Kim Jong-un's regime remains brittle and deeply isolated. Its economy is crippled by sanctions, its people cut off from the outside world. For Pyongyang, nuclear weapons are less about conquest than survival, the ultimate guarantee against foreign intervention. That calculation makes the regime dangerous. If Kim perceives a threat to his grip on power, he could act suddenly and unpredictably. Yet for now, a tense stability prevails. With Donald Trump back in the White House, the dynamics have shifted again. Trump is the only sitting US president to have met Kim face-to-face, breaking decades of precedent. That history could ease Pyongyang's sense of encirclement, or at least delay a provocation. The US is no longer seen abroad as the anchor of global stability it once was. Allies and adversaries alike puzzle over Trump's erratic signals, from talk of annexing Greenland to expanding military action in Mexico. Meanwhile, new domains loom. Space, with its armed satellites, could become the battlefield of tomorrow. So too, cyber warfare, as the Lithuanian train blackout scenario suggests. War, history teaches, is often less about design than about miscalculation. The hotspots are clear: India-Pakistan, China-Taiwan, Russia Baltics, India China and the Koreas. But the spark could come from anywhere. A blackout, a border clash, a misread signal. And suddenly, the world changes.